You ever wondered why women, often the nurturers and caregivers, find themselves embroiled in heinous crimes? Today, we're unraveling the paradox of women as criminals, delving into the unsettling enigma that is the female criminal mind. We'll be exploring 10 cases, each distinct in its own chilling way. From a Thai businesswoman orchestrating a monumental pyramid scheme to a British nurse who turned her hospital ward into a deadly trap, and a Mexican wrestler who moonlighted as a serial killer. Each woman from different walks of life chose a path that led to the darkest corners of human nature. They committed acts that not only shattered lives but also challenged our perceptions of what women are capable of. As we navigate through their stories, we'll uncover a grim world where compassion is replaced by cruelty and love is supplanted by malevolence. As we delve into these stories, brace yourself for a journey that will expose the darker side of human nature. Imagine being sentenced to over 141,000 years in prison. That's the fate that befell Chamoy Thipiasso. This Thai businesswoman masterminded one of the most audacious pyramid schemes the world has ever seen. Thipiasso's operation was vast and far-reaching, ensnaring an astonishing 16,000 people in her web of deceit. The spoils of her fraudulent scheme, a mind-boggling $200 million. But in the world of crime, the house always wins, and in 1989 justice caught up with Thipiasso. She was handed a sentence that shattered records. Over 141,000 years for corporate fraud. This sentence, unprecedented in its severity, was a clear message to would-be fraudsters about the gravity of such financial crimes. Chamoy Thipiasso's story serves as a chilling example of the destructive power of greed. Her tale is a stark reminder that behind every crime, there are real victims and the pursuit of justice, no matter how long it takes. Robert Joseph Long's reign of terror ended with multiple life sentences. This chilling sentence brings to mind one of the most notorious serial killers of the Tampa Bay area in Florida. Over an 8-year period, Long's gruesome spree encompassed the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of at least 10 women. One name stands out from his list of victims: Lisa McVeigh. In a bizarre twist, Long chose to release McVeigh, a decision that remains inexplicable to this day. McVeigh's survival and subsequent testimony played a crucial role in Long's capture and conviction. The court's sentence was as severe as his crimes, multiple life sentences guaranteeing that his reign of terror was definitively over. For the victims and their families, this offered a semblance of closure, a hint of justice in a narrative dominated by monstrous acts. Long's incarceration ensures he will never harm another soul. Beneath the facade of a homely boarding house, Dorothia Pente hid a dark secret. This unassuming woman managed a boarding house in Sacramento, California, where she welcomed the elderly and disabled as tenants. However, behind closed doors, a chilling narrative unfolded. Puente drugged her tenants and, once they were incapacitated, coldly ended their lives. Her motive was financial gain, exploiting the vulnerability of her victims to cash in on their Social Security checks. In 1993, the law finally caught up with Puente. She was tried and convicted for 3 murders, receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Yet, the chilling legacy of the boarding house killer goes beyond her confirmed victims. To this day, there remains a lingering suspicion that Puente may have claimed the lives of more tenants than those for which she was convicted. Puente's story reminds us that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. Wana Barazza, a professional wrestler by day, was a ruthless killer by night. Behind the bravado of her wrestling persona hid a dark secret. Barazza had a particular taste for the vulnerable, her victims predominantly being elderly women. Her weapon of choice? A stethoscope used to strangle her victims in a cold, calculated manner. Her chilling exploits earned her an unsettling moniker, the Old Lady Killer. There was a palpable fear amongst the elderly community, never knowing if they could be her next victim. It was a reign of terror that lasted for years until her eventual arrest in 2006. The court proceedings that followed painted a grim picture of Barazza's heinous acts. In 2008, she was found guilty of 16 counts of murder and theft, securing her a prison sentence of 759 years. Barazza's case is a stark reminder of the danger that can hide behind a familiar face. Aileen Wuornos's tragic life story ended with 6 consecutive life sentences. Wuornos, an American prostitute, faced a life rife with hardship and adversity. Her struggle took a sinister turn when she embarked on a killing spree in the Sunshine State. Between 1989 and 1990, she brutally murdered 7 men. Warnos claimed she acted in self-defense, stating the men had either attempted to sexually assault her or had actually done so. However, the jury saw through her claims. She was convicted and sentenced to death for each murder, totaling 6 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Warnos's life and crimes were so astounding, they served as the basis for the film Monster, shedding light on the grim reality of her existence. Her story is a stark reminder of how circumstances, choices, and fate can converge to create a chilling narrative. Warnos's story is a haunting tale of a life gone wrong. Rosemary West, convicted of 10 counts of murder, will never taste freedom again. She and her husband, Fred West, are infamous figures in British criminal history, collectively known as the Gruesome Duo. In the 1970s and 1980s, they committed a series of shocking murders that still haunt the nation's collective memory. Their victims, many of whom were young women, were subjected to horrifying acts of violence before their lives were cruelly extinguished. The Wests showed no remorse for their actions, further unsettling the public and the authorities. When the gavel finally fell, Rosemary received a whole life tariff, a sentence reserved for the most heinous criminals. Fred took his own life before he could face justice. The Wests' crimes are a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. While Rosemary West remains behind bars, the scars left by their atrocious acts continue to impact the lives of many, reminding us of the darkness that can lurk behind the most ordinary of facades. Myra Hindley, a name that sends chills down the spine of Britain. Her name is synonymous with evil, an embodiment of the unthinkable horrors that humans can inflict upon one another. Alongside her partner, Ian Brady, Hindley committed a series of chilling crimes that shook the nation to its core. Between 1963 and 1965, the pair abducted, sexually assaulted, and ultimately murdered 5 innocent children. The brutality of their acts was beyond comprehension, leaving scars in the hearts of a grieving nation. The victims were merely children, their lives snuffed out before they had a chance to truly begin. Hindley was sentenced to life imprisonment, a fate she met in 2002 within the cold, unfeeling walls of her cell. Yet her death did little to erase the memory of her monstrous deeds. Hindley's crimes continue to haunt the collective memory of Britain. Beverly Allet, a nurse by profession, turned out to be an angel of death. Her actions shook the very core of the medical community and turned the concept of a nurturing caregiver on its head. In the early 90s, Allet, a pediatric nurse, committed unthinkable crimes in a British hospital. She intentionally harmed the innocent lives entrusted to her care, exploiting the vulnerability of her patients for reasons that remain a chilling enigma. The victims, all children, endured horrific suffering, with 4 losing their lives to Allet's malevolent actions. As the horrifying truth unraveled, a wave of shock and disbelief spread across the nation. In 1993, justice was served when Allet was handed 13 life sentences for her heinous crimes. The sheer magnitude of her betrayal, the innocent lives lost and the trust broken, forever etched her name in the annals of criminal history. Allet's case is a horrifying betrayal of trust that shook the medical community. Lori Vallow Daybell's case captured the nation's attention. A tale shrouded in mystery and tragedy, it continues to bewilder and haunt. Daybell, a seemingly ordinary mother, found herself at the center of a whirlwind of crime and suspicion. Her 2 children vanished without a trace, only to be found dead months later. The death toll didn't end there. Her husband's previous wife also met an untimely demise, adding another layer to the perplexing narrative. Against the backdrop of these calamities, Daybell and her new husband, Chad Daybell, were found involved in a web of religious fanaticism and apocalyptic beliefs. As the investigation unfolded, the chilling truth emerged. Daybell was not just a mother caught in a tragic circumstance, but a key player in the deaths of those closest to her. The courts handed her multiple life sentences in prison without the possibility of parole. Daybell's case remains an enigma that continues to baffle investigators.